Good morning or good afternoon, depending on when you're listening to this. This is Wendy Harrington. I'm the owner of a company called Tap This Group. But today I'm here representing a group that I formed on LinkedIn, sort of a loose community, I guess, that's called The Service Project. And its goal is really to encourage conversation and dialogue around human thriving and how our organizations can benefit both the bottom line and our staff, customers, and community by focusing on what things make humans do better, what makes us perform better, what makes us happier, and how individuals and company missions can actually be in alignment and have that be a great strength. So one of the things that I thought would be interesting to do as a group is to take a look at some of the writings that are out there on these various topics and to get conversation going in the group. Right now we're pretty small, and this is the first of the book studies that I'll be sharing. Hopefully down the road it will grow into more of a book conversation, maybe quite a book club, but something like that. With books, people are either book advocates and they just eat them up, or sometimes they just get overwhelmed with all the books that are there, or they're not really interested in readers, or they're not sure how to choose what to read. So that's where the book study came in, as a way to give people kind of a top level view of what the book is about. They can decide to dive in, and we'll always include links to the books that we're recommending. And then they can get a little bit of a summary through this, not in a way to take away from the book or stop people from reading, but hopefully to encourage that. And with any luck, we'll start to get some interviews with authors as well. So welcome to this first one. This month, we're going to be looking at restoring the soul of business. Restoring the soul of business. That sounds like a big challenge, and it is. Staying human in the age of data is the subtitle. The author is Rishad Tobaccowala, who is a really influential futurist. He works with the Publicis Group and has done for many years. If you get a chance to read this book, we give it a 4 check mark, kind of like a 4 thumbs up. It is really worth the read for really anybody who is either a current or aspiring entrepreneur, a leader of people, or a manager of people, or anybody who's interested in that intersection of data and society, and kind of the challenges that come with that. So I think that what I'll start to do here is just I'll give you a synopsis and then kind of give you my thoughts on that. And at the end, I'm going to pose some questions. There'll be a PDF that's a download attached to this share, so you'll be able to read that. And perhaps you and your team would like to reflect on some of the questions and see how you can take advantage of some of the content in Rishad's book to really develop your organization. So the idea behind this is that we are now in the 3rd connected age. And that means it's when artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, 5G, and augmented reality are all converging in his view. So in the coming years, this is going to lead to expanded opportunities and risks for data, or what he calls spreadsheet, to dominate business and society as a whole. In Restoring the Soul of Business, he's making the case for why and how to ensure that we're more conscious and conscientious about creating a balance between spreadsheet and story, or the human traits that enable data to be used to grow innovation, competitive edge, and longer tenured talent that we keep in our organizations, the highest quality talent that we can get. And then, of course, human thriving overall. So that's kind of your 30,000 foot view. The contents in the book include the challenge. He discusses this in a few chapters. The 7 keys to staying human. It's really, obviously important, but what that does is it makes this book both an assessment of what's going on currently and in the past. He has a lot of examples in this book, which is really helpful, but it also helps us act or gives us a little bit of a coaching tool that we can use to evaluate where we are. And then fusing the story and the spreadsheet. And so this is where, of course, you're a little bit more of how you can bring all of these elements together comes in. So one of the challenges managers and leaders have faced for many years is deciding what to measure. So the expression is, what you focus on expands. Some of what Mr. Tabakawala is warning against on the spreadsheet side of the discussion relates to this concept of, what you're focusing on expands on steroids. So when you overuse data to direct your decision making without keeping an eye on the progress that you're making toward either your overall objectives or understanding what the impact is to the humans on your team or to your customers, you can risk getting in trouble. A couple of examples that he gives, the new accounts opened scenario that we had with Wells Fargo. This is when you're setting up as your goal something that may make people, feel like they have to maybe make some poor decisions. You want to be careful that when you're looking at how the successes are going, you're digging a little bit deeper. Another that I've seen frequently is people who are rewarding their sales teams based on the number of contacts that they have per day. So this could be people who are on the street, maybe they're lawn care companies or pest control companies or, anything like that. Maybe you're looking at how many people they're talking to, but that's not necessarily going to be reaching your end goal all by itself. Maybe they're going to be kind of zipping through the contact and they're not really digging into building relationships. That's not very healthy. You see something similar to this in call centers when the whole focus is on how quickly the call can end. You can see where that might go. He brings in a lot of examples and highlights other ways where we need to be wary of a great quote that I'll take from this: confusing numbers with facts, data with insights, and computation with decisions. So, this is, you can see how it could be very easy to go down that path. So he also uses things that he's learned from the global companies and US companies across the board for how people can build more of the story side or the soul into the organization. And he makes a really strong case for why you should do this. He believes that this is a way to maintain your competitive edge. And if you're a smaller company, you can certainly, I think, extrapolate from all this to say that this is a way that you can pull in the human aspect of your creativity and your ability to connect the dots in ways that are maybe atypical, that an AI couldn't do all by itself, or that your data isn't telling the full story, that you have to be able to put your ingenuity into it. And this is where you get companies like Uber and, name all of the companies out there that have been innovative in the way they break through. And you'll see the idea. One of the things that I thought was interesting, he's pointing out that about 80% of the US GDP is actually coming from service businesses now. And that is all human, right? That's all about the human interaction. Now, that doesn't mean that data doesn't fuel it, but we have to be really careful that as we grow our small businesses into bigger businesses and we have our wonderful vision inside, and we start to use more data to help guide our decision-making, that we still hold true to the initial ideas, the mission that we had, and the value that we have on one-on-one contact as we grow and add new staff, and that we keep those staff growing and in alignment with who we are. So spreadsheets can point us in the right direction, can help us with segmentation, can help identify gaps and opportunities, but it's humans with our emotions and our ability to make unexpected connections and thought leaps who will be the ones to create human inspiring environments and services and products. So I couldn't agree more. He makes a compelling case for attending to the factors that promote meaningful, purposeful work and connection. And these elements might be workplaces, the roles that people have, their training, and systems. And weaving all of these things together to make sure that human emotions and human mission and purpose, that's a big piece of what he's endorsing. He also acknowledges that, what may be very familiar to you if you've ever managed people, and that is that soft skills, passion, and dedication are very difficult to pin down. It's difficult to put a real measure on satisfaction. And so it's important that we use all of the tools that we have and all of the interpersonal skills development that we have to help put an emphasis on people at every turn. A relatively short, but in my mind, critical chapter focuses on um, integrating organization and personal brands. Uh, I have been a believer for a very long time that a company's success, by all definitions, explodes when it conscientiously and consciously expands its branding well beyond just the logo and the external attributes that create that brand appearance. It really is when you bring the whole brand message and belief system and purpose and mission into your hiring and training process, into your how you actually function, what you measure and value, your research and development, your community engagement, all of these pieces where the company really starts to click and starts to thrive. And some of that is that it makes it easier to attract the right people, because the more clear and integrated your brand is into your organization, literally the pulse of the organization, the more likely it is that you're going to attract the people who are on the same page with you. And this is true whether you're a group of 3 or 4 growing to a group of 12 or 20 or 100 or thousands. The more in alignment you are, the stronger your organization will become, and the more all of your thinking and ideas are going to be aligned to create what it is your customers need. Of course, it also has the positive effect of helping staff whose personal brands are not a fit waste less time there. So he goes into quite some detail onto the strategies that you can use as a manager, as a leader, to help grow your staff and to grow the organization as a whole. The actionable advice includes, and I'm going to give you a little list here so the video doesn't get too long, a 6-prong approach for extracting meaning from your data. This is really useful. Keys to retaining and motivating the best talent, unleashing your creativity. Some wonderful strategies and innovative strategies that he's seen and that he's used in the organizations that he's been part of to help encourage creative thinking across the board, even among people who don't think of themselves as creative thinkers. And so once you do that, you really start to get some innovative solutions coming up. Approaching, managing, and encouraging change in the workplace. He gives you a process for helping you and your team think differently. Again, this is good on the creative side. How to diversify and deepen your time usage and how you think about time just in general. Improving the role of meetings in your organization, and upgrading your mental operating system is something that most of us here would be on top of. Tabakawala also urges leaders to adopt an approach and a philosophy that balances the story and spreadsheet. Being a leader from the soul, it will certainly demand some changes in organizations or among people who are used to using a quarter by quarter type of measure and management system. But he cites as a good example Amazon, who has at least at one part of their planning cycle looks 5 to 7 years out. Now, can imagine what your business would look like if you included in your visioning and your planning that far out. But also the way that they do that allows them to kind of make adaptations and move around a little bit within their vision to help it unfold, give it enough time to actually see that it's successful. Particularly those of us, I think, in smaller businesses, I confess to be guilty with this sometimes too, of really not giving something enough time to really get traction and move forward. And so one of the things that I do with my clients, sort of just on the side note, is help them with that momentum planning. But in this case, what you're looking at is this longer term planning cycle, which if you are a big public company is challenging, because now your shareholders obviously are going to want some reward. If everything is that far forward, that could cause problems. But it's true for little businesses too. If you are struggling with revenue issues, you may not be able to put all of your eggs in the long-term basket, but weaving it in a little bit can give you help lay the groundwork for longer-term success. And so it certainly is very important. He also calls on us as leaders all to incorporate key values like empathy, humility, honesty, inspiration, and vulnerability into our leadership toolkit. And these are things that are talked about quite a bit just across the board in management literature. He gives you some really interesting examples and good actions in a coaching style that you could take advantage of. So in a nutshell, I think you'll really enjoy the actionable coaching approach that he uses. See it come to life through examples that will get you thinking, no matter the size of your business or what industry you're in. And really, what more could we want for a business book that's hoping to change the world? So I definitely, again, give it the 4 thumbs up. And some of the questions that you might want to reflect on as a group. How are you making decisions? Are you making them for your business based on primarily numbers, primarily your gut or your creativity, or are you finding a way to blend them? And what factor makes you decide to choose one way versus the other? You can probably learn a lot about your own approach if you sit down and think about when you err on the side of looking at the numbers or when you're kind of flying by your seat of your pants. And it may be that there are some businesses that tend, depending on the style of the owner, that tend to lean one or the other. And again, the emphasis is on creating a balance. So that may be something that a coach can help you with. Think about the companies that you've worked for in the past and think about what their primary system was. Where did you feel like it worked and where did you feel like it held you back? Were there ways in which the leadership talked one line, but the actionable rollout of how it impacted both service and product decision-making, customer service, its staff relationships, all of that? Was there a disconnect there? And is there anything that you can learn in your business as you move forward that you might want to do differently? Is there anything that you can use to help you uncover opportunities? Is there some aspect of your data that you have been maybe not looking at as closely that would be helpful to spur ideas? That if you can find out about what your customer interests are and what they're really responding to, then you'll be able to use that to help either elevate certain aspects of your service and product mix, or the way that the messaging that you use to communicate to them. If you're not looking at that at all, why not? What's holding you back? Is it knowledge, or is it a system? Is it simply setting aside time, or maybe delegating a piece of that to somebody else? And then I guess the last piece, are you gathering information from your staff if you have it? How are you weaving their ideas and their interactions into the whole mix? So those are some questions that you can use for reflection. If you have thoughts about them with your business, I'd love to see it in the comments. Feel free, or you can always ping me on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever it is that you're viewing this, and let me know your thoughts. So that's it for today for the book study. And I hope that if this is a topic that's of interest to you, that you will reach out and join us on the service project, or follow my company, Tap This Group, on LinkedIn. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care.